A variable is a way for us to store data and use it within our bash script. Why would you want to do this? Well, it makes us more efficient because we're repeating less code. Let's say there is a value that you need to be using throughout your script. Instead of repeating it in every area that you need to use it, you can just assign that value to a variable and then call the variable with its name. There's also this thing called a constant in bash. Constant and variables are very similar, except variables can change throughout your script. So the value of a variable can change, the value of a constant cannot. The keyword read only is the way that you assign a constant. Let's take a look at this script that I have. It's hello underscore variable. It is inside of the what is a variable directory in our GitHub repo. As always, the link to this can be found in the description. Now, if you checked out our previous video, what is a bash script? This script is actually exactly the same. The difference here is we're going to make some changes so we can make use of variables. Alrighty? So first thing we need to do is actually create a variable. And I'm going to call this hello underscore message. Okay. Now, variables can have any name, but they cannot start with an underscore. So keep that in mind. If you have a variable name with multiple words, the convention is to use an underscore to separate those words. Okay. So that's why I did hello underscore message here. And all I'm going to do is copy the message from down here and paste it over here. So we have an equal sign, and the value to the equal sign becomes the value of that variable. Now, how can I actually use this variable? Well, to use any variable, you would start it off with the $sign and then provide the name of the variable. In this case, hello message. And that's pretty much it for how to use a variable. Alrighty. So I can go ahead and update the permissions for this script, hello variable. And now I can use its explicit path, hello underscore variable. And you see we have the hello world printed out here. I can also update this to have a comma there and run it once more. And you can see I'm updating the value of the variable, nothing in the echo command, and it still works. I can do hello YouTube and run that once more. Fantastic. Another thing I can do is assign the output of a command to a variable. So if I create a variable that's something like current underscore directory, or dir for short, and then I want to get the value of our current directory, which we can use the pwd command for, I can assign that here. But we do have to enclose this in a $sign and a parentheses. And now I can go ahead and provide or use this variable in my script as well. So maybe I'll echo hello, we'll put this inside of double quotes, hello, message from, and then we'll type in the current directory, or we'll provide the current directory variable name. And now let's run this once more, and you can see, once more here, and you can see hello YouTube from, and it gives me the name of the current directory. One last thing I want to add here is the use of single quotes versus the use of double quotes. If I change this to single quotes, let's take a look at what changes. Let's run that once more. And you can see it gives me the literal values. You can see I have a $sign hello underscore message from $sign current directory. So that's the name of the variables instead of the actual value of the variables. So keep that in mind. When you need to actually get the value of the variables, if they're calculated or they're expanded, you need to use double quotes. If you want the literal value, you need to use single quotes. In our case, I want to use double quotes because I want the values calculated or expanded. And we'll run that again, and we can see that the hello message, we get the value of the actual variable, and then current directory, we also get the value of the current variable here. Now I also did mention constants. So if I set read only, type in here, and then I say value, actually let's call this variable won't change, and then I set this to something like, I don't know, my favorite color, blue. Right. Hello from, and then your favorite color is, and then we'll put in variable won't change. And we can see that I can go ahead and run this again, and it prints it out after this. But if I then try to change this to something like red, and then I run this here, you can see that I have an error here. Read only variable, and you can see that the value is printed out to blue. But if I copy this line once more down here, actually let's move this line down here. And then let's clear the screen, and then we'll run this once more. You see that it prints out blue instead of red because you cannot change the value of a constant, only to variables. Alrighty, keep that in mind. All right. Up next, we're going to take a look at loops, conditional statements, case statements, and functions, and using variables in all of these makes your scripts much more powerful.